Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to Burning Bridges. Today I'm joined by Morten, our co-host, and Richard Hardy, one of our wargaming friends. So we've recently been to Sweden for the Swedish Nationals, and we're going to take you through how
Oh dear.
our experience was and how our game was. So, Richard, tell us about your experience. What is the Swedish National, and how did you do, and what did you bring?
I took Romanian cavalry. So I knew you were taking Cossacks, so I thought it would be quite, because with the three of us go away quite a bit to competitions outside the UK. So I knew Søren was taking Cossacks, and I thought it would be nice to take some horses. So I dusted off an old version 3 list that I had, Romanian cavalry, and then I realised I didn't have enough cavalry, so I had to buy some more cavalry and paint lots of cavalry horses and riders. And so I took a cavalry formation with 3 cavalry platoons, 1 big and 2 small, mortars and 50mm anti-tank guns. Excuse me. And I took a Romanian light tank company with 1 platoon of each different type of tanks, because that was kind of historic with what the Romanians were doing in terms of cannibalizing their vehicles to keep them running. And a unit of armoured cars, a unit of the Henschel 129s, and 5 ordinary IS-2s. So that fitted my criteria of not being meta, being something I was probably going to have fun with, and being fairly, pretty accurate in terms of the history. I do run Romanians occasionally in terms of running an infantry company. So that was what I took. And I wasn't the only one that took cavalry, obviously, because Søren took cavalry and Luda took cavalry, and Morten just didn't get the message.
Yeah, your Romanian list, the IS-2s do, of course, have a big gun, but not super at killing tanks. What about the Romanian tanks? Do they sport a fancy cannon or?
No. So I have two French Renault tanks that the Romanians retrofitted with a Soviet 45mm in 1 platoon. So there's one of the Renaults with a French 37, which is anti-tank 4, and the two killer Romanian tanks that are anti-tank 7. And then I have a platoon that's entirely the command platoon is entirely Renaults with 37mm, so anti-tank 4, 3 all round, and then a unit of Panzer 35s and a unit of Panzer 38s, which are anti-tank 6 overworked, but have protected ammo. So the cavalry units all had the limited 1 Panzerfaust, and so it was meant to be a non-competitive fun list, and like when I went to Iceland with my uncompetitive Jeeps for British Airborne, it ended up doing better than I think probably most people would have thought it did. There was a few comments on Facebook with like, "How did you deal with heavy tanks?" And I think people assumed that it was a defensive list, and it was an attack list. So I attacked with it 5 times, and in the end I won 3. Got an 8-1, a 7-2, a 6-3, a 3-3, and I lost to Ian Paschal's Berlin Germans 6-3. I got on the objective, but he managed to kill everything that was around the objective. So I finished 4th. Rob Passman from Holland, he pipped me by 1 point to 4th place. So I was pretty pleased with it, actually.
Well done.
Sat on the plane. Well, I actually sat waiting for my plane because it was delayed. And I thought, if I drop an IS-2, I can make all the cavalry platoons up to full strength. And I think that was part of the problem, that they're 4 and you can add a mortar. And 4, you don't start dug in. You can't. You've got to dismount. Unlike lots of the other cavalry cars, you actually have to start mounted. And if you get one where the defender gets the first turn, you can't be right up front. And I thought, the cavalry was the two small cavalry units were quite fragile, so I can get them up to full strength. And actually, if I play it right, I can make one of them a scout platoon, so it can move and be gone to ground as well. So it might actually not be the only time that I end up using it, because I actually had quite fun with it. The only thing that I didn't manage to do the whole weekend, which I absolutely wanted to do, was get a mounted charge in, because Ludwig had the bugler sound the charge music on his phone and he kept playing it, and I was like, still not mounted. Or I lined it up once, and then I managed to kill the one stand that I could actually contact, and so I couldn't charge.
But of course, did you have any what do you call lists you wouldn't want to meet? Were you scared of heavy tanks, medium tanks, infantry, gun lines?
So I wasn't looking forward to playing the brigade panzers with Kampfgruppe Knittel, which was Frederick Larsen, and he gave me a really tough game, and we ended up. I was on the objective, and I was nearly breaking Knittel, which would have won me the game, and probably one more turn would have done it. But it was tough because the Panthers, he's got 7 Panthers. Yeah. Clausewitz was just my dice were. I know this sounds like an excuse. I couldn't hit anything on 4s, and Ian's morale dice were really good, and he beat me fair and square in the end. So that was cool. Yeah. What surprised me was a number of lists where we were sitting, and we stayed in we usually try and stay in an Airbnb, so we stay together, so we can play board games and talk rubbish to each other. I think the 3 of us plus Christian, who came with us, thought a lot of the lists were going to be defend lists, and people ended up attacking with them. So in my last game, I fought a Finnish Yakari list, which looked like it was absolutely set up to defend, and he attacked me with it. So there was that seems to have been the way the Swedes have gone, that they don't. A lot of them said, "Oh, no, you can't win if you defend." So they've been attacking each other. Presumably in their competitions, and that's how I dealt with heavy tanks, because I was able, if you can get it right, limited 1 Panzerfaust, you can chuck a couple of units, a couple of stands at a heavy tank, get it right. You only get the 4 dice on. He's hitting on 4s. Maybe I put smoke down as well, hitting on 5s, or you can do it in terrain. And if you can roll a 4, then you do okay. If you can't roll a 4. Then he breaks off and goes and sits on his objective, which was really annoying with Ian. He did it twice, and that's it won't work as a defensive list. It just doesn't have enough bang to stop people overrunning it. But if you're able to put people under pressure, and they move fast in the open, their dash speed is good, and they have the extra charge move. So I was pleasantly surprised,
And if you should have one moment from your 5 games that was absolutely the best moment, what would that be? What was the highlight?
Can I pick 2? I won 2 games. I won 2 games by taking the objective with early war French Renault tanks. So in a late war meta where everything's got anti-tank 13 or anti-tank 16, I twice got 3 tanks which are 3 armor all round and have a gun anti-tank 4 into a position to assault onto the objective, and got on both times and won, even hitting on 5s. So, that's the second time they were hitting on 4s, because they got the People's Army buff. So that was fun, just being able to wander around in something that I'm still waiting for early war to come out, and so we could play. But
we lost Richard.
Yeah.
So,
he's back.
I'm back.
That's good. And Morten, you brought something special as well. We did an interview with you and your Panzer 3 list. So,
for sure.
Give us some info on, is this the new meta? Will we be seeing Panzer everywhere?
I hope so. I hope I have opened the eyes of everyone to show them that you only need tanks to win. No, I came in 6th place, which I'm very happy about. I also hit the realization, just like Richard did, that Swedes don't defend. what the hell? I talked to the first player, or the second player I played against, the first Swede that I played against, Matthias, and he was like, "Yeah, well, you don't win as defender." Well, okay. And I was standing there with my tanks, and he's like, "Oh, I'm defending." Oh, he's attacking, and I chose maneuver because I wanted him to move. If he had put defend down, I would have, a moving attack, and it would have been perfect for me. And then he's just attacking, and like suddenly putting me as a defender. Yeah, really smart move from him. So the same realization is that I played 3 maneuver stances Saturday. So I was actually defending all 3 games Saturday because everybody was attacking. Yeah, so that was pretty interesting. I chose attack because I thought to hell with it, and chose attack even though I didn't want fair fights because I don't really like fair fight missions. And in the last game I played against Martin where he defended, and that meant that I could finally get my attack defend scenario, and I think we did hold the pocket, and the flamethrowers were magnificent. So finally, because of the stances, the list was weaker than I had thought, but the maneuvering actually helped because you can first win in turn 6, so you have to.
You have a chance to get your reserves on. And,
yeah, exactly. Except
so
if you
the Swedes might be right.
Swedes
don't
might
defend.
be right, yes.
Yeah.
I think I'm looking forward for the statistics. I think we should do a new video about that, of course.
Yeah,
because they were gathering statistics.
On board.
Yeah. Because it's very interesting to see that almost, I think it was 80-90% chose attack right through the whole tournament. Very interesting to see.
So just like ask Richard, what's your high point of your 5 games? What is the moment to remember?
One of the best moments was against Frederik Larsen and his Panthers and Kampfgruppe Knittel, who I also played. And he was almost breaking my formation with those damn Panther shots, hitting on 6s and 7s. And I had one shot to bail 1 HQ Panther and 2 half-track mortars with my 2 flame tanks. And I think I got like 7 hits or something. And he just needed to roll 1s or 2s on each one. I got the Panther bailed out, but he saved the 2 half-tracks. Otherwise, I would have won in a anti-tank combat with my flame tanks, which is pretty cool. So, and after I, of course, failed that, he shot everything to dead and pushed me back to the objective. And then it was a draw. 1 more turn and I had lost. So, yes, that was definitely very cool.
That was good. Yeah. It was also held at a very nice location. What's it? It's not the Freemasons, but some
kind of brotherhood, right?
The Oddfellows, they're called.
Oddfellows, yes.
The Oddfellows, yeah. So the table was nice. It had a bar. We had a local brewer bring in his own beer, so that was wonderful. And a little stage and some nice wooden floors and seats for everybody and big tables and enough space to walk around.
Yeah, a huge painting of the king and queen.
Yes, of course.
I guess it was. It was also pretty cool to meet all the Swedes because I haven't met that many. Of course, we've met Petter, who's always also been to Iceland and to Denmark.
And he shared a house with us in Finland when we went to Talvisoota in
2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago. Wow. It's like...
and I think one nice thing was that there was a lot of noobs or newcomers that had only played for a year or something, and their attitude was amazing. They were like, "Yeah, I'm just here to learn. I want to see how people play and so on." It was really amazing. It's a great community they have in Sweden.
Yeah, there was a really good vibe, and people were having fun and talking to each other and just throwing dice and smiling no matter the result. So that was really good to see.
Yeah.
And we started 28, finished up 24, 22.
Yeah, there was a couple of people had to drop out for perfectly understandable reasons. So, but everybody, I think the other thing is that those of us that went that have probably played a little bit more were not players that wouldn't assist people or, talk to people at the end and say, did you think about doing this? So my first game when I played Ulf, he was using Shermans, and actually the Sherman list, a Sherman list does cause all sorts of problems for me. But he went for attack and then did a nice balanced, I'll have some artillery and some infantry and 1 unit of tanks. And I can deal with 1 unit of tanks, but I couldn't have dealt with his HQ and 2 units. So, effectively 3 jumbos coming straight at me. And the only thing I've got that can take them out basically is the ISs, and the ISs were off table. Mm-hmm. And we had a long chat at the end where I said, you should have just come straight at me with all of that in one go. And you would probably, there's very little, unless I get stupidly brilliant dice and you get very bad dice, you're almost certainly going to be putting pressure on that objective. Don't always think about, having a nice balanced army or look at what your opponent has got. And it was good, to be able to help and discuss, because I probably think that many of the guys there are using the only army that they've got. So they're going to, they're going to play with what they've got, and they get into the habit of playing against the same people with the same army. So I think it was really, really good for them. And they, they were all good guys, and it was really good fun. Halmstad was lovely. I don't think I've ever gone to Halmstad in my life if I hadn't have been going to a wargaming competition, but it's a pretty little town. Of course, historically it was Danish, so I was with 3 Danish guys who were, very keen to remind the Swedes that we were really in Denmark, and actually it was time that they packed their bags and went home. Yeah. And Christian, with his Denmark shirt on when he wins, stood surrounded by all the Swedish flags and the Swedish king and queen, fighting his blow for the liberation of Halland. But it's got a nice little castle and a great beach, and the town centre was really pretty. Had a couple of good nights out and a couple of good nights sitting in the Airbnb playing silly games. So it was good. It was good fun. Nice way.
How did you do, Søren? Let's also talk about you. Let's not forget you.
I was quietly hoping that we would just leave that for another day.
No. How could I with all the wine?
I did magnificently. I had 5 great games. Really want to play against heavy armor, especially crocodiles and other anti-infantry stuff, which was just super. So I played Martin from Holland in the first game with a Romanian Panzer IV list on a city table, the deck was stacked in my favor. I thought, I'm going to take this. So I attacked and he maneuvered. We got breakthrough, put the objective in a nice big factory building with Martin's only infantry platoon. The only thing that you get into the center, I contest. Otherwise, the tanks would have to be surrounding the building. And I attacked and bailed out a single and just needed to assault it away. They are reluctant, the Romanian tanks. So I just needed to get in. And then I had 2 Panzerfausts in my Cossack army or unit. And I thought, well, I might as well try and kill 2. That went defensive fire from 4 to 8. But that's okay, because I'm hit on 4s. But no, it wasn't. So I got stopped. He pushed me back. And since I didn't get to consolidate into the building, the next turn he had his Romanian armored infantry in the building. And all of a sudden it was a draw. I simply couldn't push him out. So, well, the draw is not bad. And in the following 2 games, I played breaching groups and a British Recce company with 6 crocodiles and 8 Achilles, which magically resulted in me losing both games, with the highlight in game 2, where David and his 2 crocodiles and 4 Aris broke both of my formations at the same turn on turn 5. So I simply had nothing left on the table. He had completely flamed me to death. That was great. Other than that, on game 4 was me attacking against Frederick Gustafsson's British Paras and Chaffee Company. That resulted in a win for me. Finally, just like Morten, I built a list for attacking, just like the Swedes, but it requires that somebody plays defend for it to work. So thank you, Frederick. And in my last game, I played Henry, who played a Soviet list. where we had a real slugfight in another city table. So Henry ended up winning 8-1. If I'd managed to hold on for another turn, I might have taken the win. I had my IS-2s on his objective and just needed to push away 3 infantry and 2 Panthers. But that shouldn't be a problem when they hit on 3s.
Decoy Panthers.
Yeah. But it was great opponents. It was good fun. I ended up 16th, which was a little lower than I had wanted. But it was a close tournament. A single win could make you jump 10 places maybe. So that was fine.
And
the
you won
Cossacks took
best painted.
Yeah, which
You
is
were
always
best
nice.
painted.
Yeah.
And
I put a lot of effort into.
We should mention that Ilkka from Finland won. Is that his 3rd straight best opponent?
Yeah, I think so.
For a singles tournament, he won in Iceland, didn't he? When we were in Iceland,
in GTs, he's won 3 best opponents at the GTs in a row. So he must just be the nicest man on the planet, which he is. So it's no wonder.
On Team Iceland, we'd just be absolutely,
unstoppable,
guaranteed to keep winning the best team trophy, best sporting a team trophy at the ETC. But no, it was fun. I guess that the guys had also suffered. They about the middle of the year, they lost 7 tables worth of terrain, and I think they've been working really, really, really hard to be able to put on. Would have been 12 tables. I think it was 12 tables in the end. And that's a big loss just in the run up to a tournament that you're kind of opening out for the first time as a community, and you suddenly lose 7 tables worth of terrain. It's a tough ask. So well done to the guys for getting the amount of terrain that they had, actually, because I don't think there's many communities where if you lost 7 tables worth of terrain, you'd not stuffer. So we should say that was a magnificent effort by the guys in terms of getting that out.
Well, that's it. Thank you for coming.
No, that's fine.
Pleasure as always.
Yes, it's like it's ages since I've seen you. It almost feels like I saw you at the weekend.
Yeah, the internet. Yeah. Well, we'll be back when we get the stats from the tournament to see if we can find something interesting.
Definitely.
Well, the interesting thing will be that the vast majority of people did attack as a stance.
Perfect.
Definitely.
Bye.
All right. Bye.